And here we are again, trying to work out, is it news or is it a pasty?
Tory MPs were heading off to campaign in Boris Johnson's old seat of Uxbridge today.
Is Uxbridge where this train terminates?
This is Uxbridge, where souls go to die.
Or exonerate him.
Look, it's the chubby conservative women's social
I'm going
club.
straight there after this.
They're going to dance tonight.
Who knows?
Look at these ladies are going to dance tonight. They're going to have fun.
Who knows?
Boris Johnson's already quit Parliament and was spending his
59th
59th birthday at his new
Look at this.
home. He sent word out to his remaining supporters.
They keep him in a
Parliament,
coffin in the van.
Debate
A
and
coffin!
vote on the Privileges Committee report that condemned
The
him
coffin
as a
is
repeated
shaped
liar.
like a pasty.
Denied what was true, asserted what was not true.
Whoa! Harriet Tubman, she's here. Look, this is the woman who I think she was working for Liberty, wasn't she? Was it Liberty back in the 70s when the paedophile information exchange was lobbying her? Isn't that where she had real hard time trying to, muster up an apology for that? I can't even remember if she ended up apologizing for that because I don't think she really cared. She didn't seem like it affected her. She was like, well, it's not me. No, it is you, Harriet. Well, I don't care. I'm a stalwart Labour establishment person now. I'm going to get my period. I don't give a fuck about you, little plebs.
Obfuscated and deceived. It is clear he knew the rules and guidance.
You knew the rules and guidance. You knew the rules and guidance.
As Prime Minister, he was telling the country about them nearly every day. He knew that there were gatherings. He was there.
Gatherings.
He knew that the
He was
gatherings
there.
breached the rules and the guidance, yet he
100% some of these guys were partying in another house without any cameras.
told the House that the rules and guidance were followed in Number 10 at all times.
I commend the members of the Privileges Committee for their painstaking work.
There's
and for
a
their
woman,
dignity in the face of slur.
Theresa May, whose father, Hubert Brazier, born in about 1923, if I remember correctly, in London, worked with one of the most famous serial killers in history, John Bodkin Adams. There she is. She's looking over her glasses. She's thinking maybe about the 130 plus victims of her father's friend, Bodkin Adams. They worked together in Eastbourne Hospital, I can't tell you that they were friends, but they were very close during a time where he was murdering women. And Theresa May, does she care about that? No, she cares about people dancing, parties during lockdown, when I think there should have been loads of parties.
On their integrity. To all the members of the committee, this House should, as the Leader of the House said, say thank you for your service. And I also say to members of my own party that it is doubly important for us to show that we are prepared to act when one of our own, however senior, is found wanting.
Were you found wanting with Grenfell? I think you were found wanting with Grenfell, weren't you? You were found wanting. Did anybody hold you to account? No, you sneering. Look, she's got a little bit. I say it every episode. I say Duper's delight. Duper's delight.
I will vote in favour of the report of the Privileges Committee. I urge all members of this House to do
Factional,
so.
conservative, fighting.
The Swedish Prime Minister to Downing Street.
Oh, look! It's the human banknote himself! The walking CBDC! This is actually, underneath, he is all CBDC and no human, is Richie Sunak. And there, he's meeting the cuck from one of the other cuck democracies around who aren't really democracies. We all live under an authoritarian growing technocracy. Well done, Mr. CBDC there, shaking hand with Mr. Do Whatever the Puppet Masters say.
Earlier, he's decided to skip the vote.
Are you scared of Boris Johnson, Mr. Sunak?
How are you planning to vote?
Well, this committee was established under the former Prime Minister.
Look at these arm movements. This is the arm movements of a stiff private schoolboy who's practiced over and over again. This is like the elite movements of an elite political athlete. His arms showing what he's meant to be saying. So he's thinking about his arms and he's making his statement about how Boris Johnson is someone else and doing something else, and he doesn't want to get involved, no doubt. Standing with the NHS in the background, trying to win the hearts and minds of the people.
It commanded the confidence of the House at the time, and I'm sure that they've done their work thoroughly, and I respect them for that. Obviously, this is a matter for the House, not for the government, and that's why each and individual colleagues will make up their own mind when the time comes.
Yes, okay, it's a matter for the
Each
House.
and individual colleague will make up their own mind when the time comes.
Each and individual colleague.
Hiding. Just as he passed through the peerage list the other day, he's hiding, sitting on his hands, trying not to be noticed. That's not leadership.
Whoa, this is it, isn't it? You've got two blobs of poo on the ground arguing over who's a better leader. Look, this bad leadership by Sunak makes Starmer look better, and then the bad leadership by Starmer will make Sunak look better, and they feed off each other as they spiral down the poop chute of all of these politicians, these modern politicians. And who gives a hell? Who gives 5 missions for a better Britain? 5 missions for a better Britain. I don't even think that rings as an even. You know, these guys are losing touch with not only reality, not only the public. The PR machines are no longer able to muster up new slogans that can trick people. This is the end. This is the end.
It's actually opting out of something which is very, very important.
After video emerged
Here it
from
is.
a party at Tory headquarters from December 2020,
Here it is.
when London was under strict COVID restrictions, the
Here it
Metropolitan
is,
Police
look at it.
today said they were considering whether to investigate the mingle and jingle.
Look at these two.
party.
Look at these
Amongst
two.
them
These
is there
famous
was
dancers. Oh my God! No, we got to go back. I can't not watch that again. Ah, there is his face. He's gonna be all over everything, isn't he? Oh, he's wearing his Christmas sweater. Everybody's having fun. Look, Mr. Brace is over here. Make sure you're in lockdown while he gets wagged off in the covered at this lovely Christmas party. Everybody dance. What are we dancing to? I don't know. How about the deaths of people that we're causing by mistreatment? I say, personal.
COVID restrictions. The Metropolitan Police today said they were considering whether to investigate the mingle and jingle party.
The
Amongst
mingle
those there
jingle
was
party.
Sean Bailey, then running for Mayor of London.
Oh,
Last
yeah.
Made appear in Boris Johnson's resignation honours list.
Jingling
Oh, that's
and mingling,
nice.
Sir. Like, how is that acceptable? It isn't. I'm not saying it is for a second. Are you embarrassed that you've been given a
Peerage mayoral candidate. This guy, Sean B, he's got loads of. He can just keep going. It doesn't matter. These people are detached from us. They're gonna keep going. They have what? They have to walk past the camera once of journalists who don't really want to track them down and don't really want to expose them. Otherwise, they do it. Because someone like me, I do that. I look into people and map out their life, discover they've done loads of wrong things. Because this guy, if he's done a couple of wrong things now in this position, you can be sure he's done a load of wrong things in the past and the future, and it's the same with all of the rest of them. And all you got to do is journal it and map it out. Now, I'm doing my bit. Why didn't other people do their bit? Like the people who are journalists, like this journalist who's chasing him down. But this is all ethereal. It's all in the moment. It all just disappears. There's no point in it, is it? Oh, chase Sean Bailey down the street and say, oh, you got a peerage and all of this, and he has and gets away, and then he gets away, and everybody forgets.
I apologise for.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm out of breath. Because what you can see is I'm having sex. I'm having sex with a PR dear.
Former Prime Ministers were amongst those at Windsor Castle for the annual Order of
Look
the
at
Garter service.
these.
The first Prime
Oh,
Minister to be found guilty
no.
of repeated first Prime Minister Windsor Castle.
We're
for the
going
annual-
back. Windsor Castle. Look at this. Tony Blair. Look at him dressed up. Look at his little hat. Look at his little feather. You know what that feather stands for? Each of the fluffs on those feathers is an Iraqi child. It's true. It's true. Is an Iraqi the life of an Iraqi child. all of the feathers there. Yes, you bastard. Look at this. Look at this. They're all praising themselves, showing how good they are with all of these orders, and they all get all of these orders. And this just looks evil, doesn't it? Tony Blair, evil Tony Blair, walking with his evil chums, all dressed up in their garters and their robes and their massive gold chains and their swanky hats and their fluffy feathers. Oh, that's all very nice. It's all very nice, isn't it? They're having the greatest time.
Order of the Garter service was the first Prime Minister to be found guilty of repeated contempts of Parliament.
Is he talking about Tony Blair?
Find some of the trappings
there he is.
For former Prime Ministers refused.
Oh, there's John Major hanging around.
His protocol wrestles with the novelty of a Prime Minister accorded pariah status.
So what have we got here? Who we got? We can see Sherry Blair up there and Tony Blair. Now, Tony Blair, I mean, I'd love to tell you some of the things that I've been learning about Tony Blair. It's really interesting. Pre his leadership, there's a real interesting rise. Everybody will know my work, which shows that he was in the 1993 first Global Leaders for Tomorrow, which was originally the Young Global Leaders World Economic Forum Take Over the World course. And look at here, you got John Major down there, of course, and you've got all of these people who are part of the Order of the Garter and past leaders, they say, but leaders in what? Because some of these guys, I wonder what they've done.
By MPs.
And Gary is with me now for what feels like unprecedented times.
Momentous. We know that Boris Johnson is a man who likes his epics and his sagas, and he has written himself one here. Extraordinary scenes in the House of Commons.
Gary Gibbon will one day be dressed in ribbons, and he'll dance around with the rest of the Order of the Garter. He will be given a prize. I'm sure that's what will happen. All of these journalists are part of the establishment, so they're looking at their future and they're thinking, can I get my puffy hat and my little fluffy feather that represents dead Iraqi children? And can I please go out there and become part of you? I want to be part of the elite. And then maybe my children can one day take over the world. The Gibbon dynasty can rise.
Because although technically they're not expelling him, effectively that is
what his
fellow members of Parliament are doing. And in there right now, there are speakers getting up who are using that word, always gets people thrown out of the House of Commons. Liar.
Oh, they're gonna call him a liar. They're gonna say he's a liar. And they're gonna not technically throw him out of the House of Commons. Oh, he's a bad man. So bad they gotta not technically throw him out of the House of Commons. What a bastard!
Lied. Lies. Again and again, they're using variations of this.
Lies. I know they're doing something that they don't do in history. You see, you're not actually supposed to be going up in the House of Commons and calling people liars and lies and doing all of this. You're supposed to use your words very carefully. But this is obviously different. They obviously want to make sure that there's no chance that Boris Johnson's coming back. And we've seen this same process go for Trump in America, haven't we? Where they say all the nasty things, they pull out all of the stops to try and stop him running again ever in the future. And there's a risk because they're making an anti-establishment, they're making a pariah, they're making someone who's going to be able to come back again and have a second win, maybe. And maybe they're doing that on purpose. Maybe that's the plan. Maybe because one day Boris Johnson will have his puffy hat and his feather, which represents the death of the Iraqi children, and he'll have his robe, he'll have his garter, he'll have his little gold medallion, and he'll be marching next to Major and next to Blair, and who knows, next to Sunak and Starmer too.
And it tells you how low he has fallen. Another thing that tells you that is how few people there are who are willing to speak up for him in there. And you kind of feel that the fact that they've decided his dwindling number of allies not to try and force a vote on this is because they're afraid their numbers would be exposed to be quite small. Someone else who doesn't particularly want to be seen voting, though, tonight, as you said, is Rishi Sunak. He has kind of retrofitted his diary to make sure that he can't be here.
This is they're trying to make it, they're trying to create the factions, they're trying to do all this, but this is bump news. He's technically not going to be expelled, and they're going to all give him a public telling off. Is that what's going on? And this is like momentous time.
Momentous. Momentous. Don't you know what momentous means? You're a journalist. Do you know what momentous means? Shall we work out what momentous means together? Do you think that this is momentous? Do you think what is happening here can be described as momentous? Because I think that it's very far away from the definition of momentous, which I could tell you now because I'm very skilled at such things, are saying of utmost importance, of outstanding significance or consequence, of moment or consequence, very important and weighty, outstanding in importance. That's what they mean when they say momentous. That's what momentous means. And what is this? A wet fart without any technical, actual, backup of anything. It's just all show.
And voting, if he really wanted to be, he would be. But like quite a lot of other people, and looking at the lack of presence on the front bench there, presumably quite a lot of people in the government, Penny Mordaunt, the leader of the House, says she will vote for the committee and the effective expulsion of Boris Johnson.
Penny Mordaunt, carrier of the sword, friend of Bill Gates, establishment lackey, will do whatever the establishment needs to do to be able to do the things that they need to do to be able to keep in power and to keep people like her carrying a sword. Mr. King? Oh, the king. I bet you the king has a sword and Penny Mordaunt is on his mind, you know? I reckon it's going to be... I should stop with this now. I'm making myself feel ill. I'm making myself feel I've eaten too many pasties. Anyway, Pasty Gibbons. Back to Pasty Gibbons.
Condemnation of him might be a rather lonely...
In the Houses of Pastiment.
But it's important to remember, this is a man who a year ago was running our country, has been ejected from power by his own party, and is now being...
God, look at... You know, the thing that really stands out is those library lamps over there, those green ones. I like those.
Gary, well, another of the senior Conservatives who is supporting the Privileges Committee...
That tie would not have been allowed 10 years ago.
Who served as Business Secretary when Boris Johnson was Prime Minister. Thank you for coming.
Oh, God, how did they change so quickly?
To uphold this report?
Essentially, it's a committee of the House. It was established by the House in April 22 by a unanimous majority.
All of these people circled round, supported, lifted, got lifted up a little bit, got a little bit of something from Boris Johnson, and then all publicly stab him in the back, but not make it so that it's an open door for him to walk back because it's only a technical issue.
So the makeup of the committee is politically...
Or there's no technical issue. There's no technicality. There's no technical fucking law broken. There's nothing going on. This is a non-story. What's worse is that this is a load of people saying, this should never have happened. Lockdown should never have happened. People should have been able to party. That's what should never have happened. So you're arguing for the lockdown, in essence saying, oh, these people should have been keeping to lockdown, is supporting lockdown, you know. It's supporting lockdown, and this is what this is. This is a weird conduit to supporting something or getting people to support something that lots of them don't actually support. Because I know loads of people who didn't support lockdown, who support the action against Boris Johnson and all of these people due to what they did while in lockdown. I can't do that. I can't do those loops. I can't jump through those hoops. These people can. Maybe you can. Maybe you understand, but is that really news or is it a pasty? Is this actually just a load of people trying to work out what's right and what's wrong in a world where everything's wrong?
Balanced. In fact, there's a Conservative majority. And so in my view, as a former leader of the Commons, but also a real believer
leader of my asshole
parliamentary sovereignty, we have to back a properly constituted committee. And it's not right to simply say, well, I don't like its findings, so I'm just going to bring into question its legitimacy.
Is that what people like Jacob Rees-Mogg are doing, do you think?
No, not necessarily. I'm not pointing fingers at anybody, but I just do observe that I believe
don't point fingers at the Mogg.
Need to recognise it's a properly
his kids will be there
great lengths and
in the next
detail
watching your kids
still
still
to come up with clear analysis that shows wrongdoing, and its recommendations, I believe, should be supported by the House.
If you'd have
Yeah, I'm saying that if she bitches off Mog, then she knows she's bitching off Dynasty. Because Mog's father was also big and go on and forth, back. Her parents weren't so big. Go on forth, back. She's making her legacy. You know, once you're in Parliament, once you're in all of these, once you've been in government, you know not to step on the big toes. People like Mog.
been Prime Minister, you'd have been here tonight, wouldn't you?
Well, you know...
And you might have been, once upon a time. I mean...
It's impossible to say. You know, clearly today is House business. The Prime Minister has another world leader here that he is entertaining and having discussions with.
It's a few minutes away, isn't it? He could come and
yeah,
vote.
but it's not possible to always change schedules. And I think the Prime Minister has made clear that he upholds
This is all balls,
so,
isn't
I'm
it?
hopeful that this will go through on the nod rather than having a
This
division.
will go through on the nod.
You just
I
want
don't.
it to go
I want
through.
all members to accept the validity of that committee's findings.
But given how important this is for Parliament...
There you go. She just like the committee's finding. I want people to nod. I want people. So you don't want to make it like a technical issue. No, not actually do anything. We're just going to have a little nod. Has he broken the rules? Yes. What are we going to do? Are we going to do him for it? No, we're going to nod. Yes, we're going to do him for it. No. I didn't mean we're going to nod. We're going to do him for it. I mean, we're just going to nod. We're just going to say, yeah, we agree. Nod. No harm, no foul. No harm, no foul.
As you say, and there are people questioning the validity of the report. Doesn't it require the Prime Minister to show some leadership and say this is important? And
I think he has made clear that he upholds the work of the committee, and that he is unable to be here. No, I don't really think it's that totemic. As I say, my hope is that this does go through on the nod.
Harriet Harman revealed that the sentence, if you like, was increased because of Boris Johnson's leaking of the findings and his sort of preemptive strike. I mean, you support that as well, do you? I mean, you think that's...
again, you know, because...
I think there's a lot of things that could be revealed about Harriet Harman, Personally, I believe so.
That's what his supporters are angry about.
Well, because I come at this from the perspective of parliamentary sovereignty, in my view, it's essential that principle that we govern our own affairs here and that we are all responsible to the House. And that's why I believe this committee's work must be upheld. And that's why I believe it's not right for it to be sort of falsely accused and for individual members to be rounded upon and told that they're acting politically and in bad faith and so on. Because ultimately, if we lose the credibility of governing our own affairs, then all we're left with is the prospect of having external non-elected people governing us, and that of course is a disaster for any democracy.
Do you fear the sort of the Nadine Dorris retribution, that you might be deselected by your party for speaking in this way?
Well, I've been re-adopted by my local association, but obviously, ultimately, our voters are in charge. They decide whether we get re-elected or not.
They're not hearing that.
Some and some, you know, people have different views on all political topics. You know, every day there's always a balance.
What is it? The 1923 committee or whatever it's called, and all of those guys are in charge. The Tory members are in charge. I went down to Hastings and I saw these guys, these big, grotesque fellas walking by, being all Tory. I know what they're like. They're not like those other bright, shining Labour ones who were protesting them and going, "Yo, you're destroying the earth, you Nazi! You're destroying the earth! Stop destroying the earth, you're a Nazi!" And the Conservative pasties continue to walk through and go to their hustings. And there's the Conservative membership is 0.00003% of the population or something. Yeah, that's who decides.
Of people feeling one way or the other way on any given topic. So it's no news to hear that people have different views on this too.
Dame Andrea Lesson, thank you very much indeed. Well, earlier I spoke to one of Boris Johnson's supporters, the Conservative MP Brendan Clark-Smith, and I began by asking if the decision of Johnson backing MPs...
They're going to grill one of Boris Johnson's supporters.
No, not at all. I think some have arranged in the past to actually do things, some quite legitimate reasons there. And
definitely looks like a Boris Johnson supporter at the moment. He looks like he's currently being hit in the face repeatedly, and he's trying to get away from the next hit. That's what Brendan Clark-Smith MP, a Bassett Law, that's what he looks like.
I think campaigning,
but most of them aren't they? In truth, most of them are just staying away from it's awkward and embarrassing and difficult.
Well, it depends, really. For example, with me, I'm not going to be voting tonight. I'm not going to be taking part in the debate, and I'm not going to be voting one way or the other. So I said I'm completely against
Why?
Well, I'm against the report and its recommendations. I've said why. I've said I would vote against it. Because, as you say, Krish, it's not really right. The number of people that are in here, it's kind of made a bit of a farce of it, I think, to be honest. And in terms of the numbers, I'm not going to play that silly numbers game where...
I'm not going to play the silly numbers games.
I'm not going to...
7 of you or whatever.
I'm not going to put down my name in history because of those silly numbers next to this. I support it and him fully, but I won't say that historically or within the record. I will say those are silly numbers. Look at the silly number. What number is that? Oh, it's a 6. And how do you spell 6? Well, Pasty. Pasty. No. NEWSPASTE.
Against and all this, if we had a full house here and everybody was here to vote, I think you get a more realistic picture, but you're not going to get that today. So
you're not really, going to get that today. Stop hitting me in the face.
I mean, that sounds like the truth is his support is so low that the vote would be so embarrassing that it's better for you to just not vote.
Uncomfortable body language from the two.
Well, I think if you actually did have a vote, and I think if people were actually on the estate, I think the numbers would actually be quite decent and quite split.
Okay,
as you'll have seen at the weekend,
here we go.
People expressing...
Actually,
I think if you actually did have a vote, and I think if people were actually on the estate, I think the numbers would actually be quite decent and quite split. So as you'll have seen at the weekend,
maybe 5
expressing
seconds.
Support for the recommendations. Wow. Michael Gove actually said that he would abstain, of course. He's another one, as have many other people, for various reasons. So I mean, people abstain for fair reasons as well. It's not just a case of avoiding a vote. Some people abstain because they're...
Real life actualization happening all over the place in Parliament with the people who matter. They're the people who matter, These people in Parliament are the people who matter.
Genuinely torn. So I think, in fairness, I respect the way that colleagues vote on things, but
I actually respect the way that colleagues actually vote.
Some of your colleagues are voting for the report. Penny Mordaunt has just said that she's voting for it. What do you make of that?
Penny Mordaunt. She has her own allegiance.
To read the report, they're entitled to
she has her own allegiance.
And I'm not going to criticise people for that. That is their democratic
right.
Live
by the sword, die by the sword, Mordaunt.
Well, he's one of the great titans of British politics and will...
He's one of the great titans of British politics, and he will hold his nuts under my chin, and I will put his winky woo in my mouth, because he is me hero. Oh my God, Boris, I love you. I love you. You make me fly. You make me feel so high, Boris. Oh!
Politics, I'm sure we haven't seen the last of him.
It's funny you use a phrase like the great titans. I mean, is he really a great titan? I mean, he's just
a great pasty! A massive, enormous pasty, a walking pasty in a suit.
That you would say that about?
He's a great pasty!
He's just
a pasty! A pasty! Wait a minute! Channel 4, shall we look at some... This is a Channel 4 journalist being impartial. Shall we hear it?
It's a disaster who's had to leave.
He's just a disaster who's had to leave. He's just
He's not a great titan. He's just a disaster who's had to leave.
He's not a great titan. He's just a disaster who's had to leave. That is commentary, definite commentary from the actual journalist who's supposed to be interviewing, is now inserting he's just a disaster, he had to leave, into the mouth of another pasty to pasty action. You're seeing one pasty here and another pasty, and they're both standing in pastiment, and they're going to talk pasty language to each other, and you won't be able to quite understand what pasty is, where it is, what it looks like, how it smells, what it tastes like. No one knows, really. No one knows anymore because everything's a pasty. So you're always tasting pasty and you never taste pasty because of it. Yes.
But he's a man who makes things happen and wins elections, whether that was as London Mayor, whether that was with the Brexit referendum, and whether that's with the 2019 general election as well. So there is a hugely influential figure that's there. But
really, did Boris Johnson do all of that? Did Boris Johnson do all of that, or did a team of people who put Boris Johnson out as the guy who's going to get it at the end? Is that what happened? Because I think that's what he is. I think he's one of the many people who've got enough establishment links to be put out in front, and not enough that it means he gets cut down. Maybe a bit of that, but still, I know some of the things in his past are pretty heavy. Boris Johnson's a big player. I think I said sometime that he was related to William the Conqueror somehow, but I think that's someone else I'm thinking of, and I think in actual fact he's related to George III, Mad King George. So people look into that. In actual fact, they did a "Who do you think you are?" and I think it came to that conclusion where he's standing next to a Mad King George, and it's there, isn't it? It's there. It's there. The family.
Yes, a lot of people have moved on. One thing that I'm really
Germans
keen to emphasise is that this is not a party issue, this is a House issue. And it's perfectly possible to disagree on the House issues and still have a united party that's working together to win the next general election.
Would you have expected the Prime Minister to come here and show a bit of leadership?
Not necessarily on House motions. I think in the past Prime Ministers haven't been there for those as well.
They're all excuses.
Remove himself from that. Of course, there's some.
He still looks like he's been hit in the face.
You may say that may be compromises.
Now, I don't want to mention his tiny little hands. Yeah, I don't want to mention them. I don't want to mention how small his hands are because that would be rude. So I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to go down that route of making personal comments about this man's hands. Not going to do it. Just because I got nice, big, strong, manly hands. I've got my hands are hairy enough, not too hairy. My fingers are long. I play guitar, you know. I try and keep my fingernails in good conditions. You know, I look at it. I get enough calcium. The backs are nice and tanned, and the palms are as white as they come. As white as they come. And they're nice and big. They seem to be about the right size. But his hands are tiny. He has little tiny hands. But I'm not going to mention that because that would be rude. And I would just be doing what these type of people did to Trump with his tiny hands too. And all of the rest of the tiny hands people. Yeah, making note about someone's physical attributes and how small they are may make you feel good. But they're not going to be anything but pasty.
What he would like to say on it, perhaps, as well. So I think people should cut the Prime Minister a little
tiny
bit.
hands.
Brendan Clark-Smith, thank you very much. Well, with me now is the Labour MP, Dawn Butler, and you were thrown out of the chamber for calling Boris Johnson a liar.
Throw out!
They're all calling him a liar today.
I was hoping she'd been thrown out for something else, like just get out! We've had enough of your type of people in here, if you know what I mean. Your kind of people, those who wear the peachy red. Not quite red, peachy red. That's peach. I don't think that's red. Is that red? And can you wear pink and peach? Is that normal? I don't know if pink and peach is normal, but it's not up to me to decide on such things. This is a lady who I don't agree with sometimes. On occasion, I'm like, yeah, but all of these establishment politicians, I don't like any of them. I think they all live on pasty. I think inside they only have pasties for brains and pasties for hearts, pasties for genitals and pasties for farts. You know, they just got pasties all over the place. I wouldn't be surprised if her top of her head is shaped like that because she has been wearing a pasty for a long time.
With such freeness and not being thrown out. I mean, but the thing is this, people say there was no evidence. In July 2021, when I called Boris Johnson a liar, was because I was frustrated that he was consistently coming to the House and lying, and yet still there was nothing that we could do.
She did it first.
You know, he knew he was lying. We knew he was lying. He knew we knew he was lying.
So what does it tell you?
You're saying a state of hypernormalization, but that's happening on every part of the party. And the reason why that rule's in check is because if you start saying that someone's lying in the House of Parliament, everybody will be called a liar. You'll just have 700 odd people or however many's in there going, liar, 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 and they'll all be right. They'll all be spot on. They'll all be noting the truth. Oh, these guys are liars. Look how much of a liar this liar is. Yeah, and this liar too. Yeah, and you're a liar. Wait a minute. You're a liar. I'm a liar. Oh, I'm a liar. You're a liar. Oh, my God. And you know, this is what government looks like in the future. It's just a load of people calling each other liars and being spot on, or no one's allowed to mention lies. That's the way it's going. So far, it's been status quo. It's been don't mention that you're all liars. Over here, peachy red. I mean, I think the trousers look like a different color from the top, and you know, I'm not offended by that. I'm not offended by that. I wish he was wearing the same suit too. I would like, because his is, I mean, men's suits are really bland. I would really like to see him wearing an apricot or a violet. Because you have to be kind of, I suppose, away from the colours that are in Parliament. You'd have to remain a little bit impartial, probably in colour choice. But you could probably get away with white shoes. No, he couldn't, because she's wearing white shoes. What does that mean? I don't know. They should all probably be wearing red shoes.
About this place and the rules here. Oh, that you got thrown out for that, and then here we are tonight.
The rules need to change. They are too archaic. And Theresa May stood up today and she said how difficult it is as Prime Minister to basically sanction your friends,
Theresa May.
Because you might sanction them one minute and
you're amazing.
Tea room in the queue with them the next minute. So what I think needs to happen, which I put forward in 2021, is for that to be taken out of the hands of the Prime Minister and put in the hands of Parliament, of the House itself.
But isn't the truth that nothing that has happened today can stop?
I'm not sure why he's using his hands in such a way, but I think he's got one thing on the mind. Now, imagine what he's got on his mind.
This happening again. Even with the same man. Yeah, he could be back doing the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. He pointed at him too.
And you know, it's taken 2 years to hold a liar to account.
Hold the liar to account.
Shouldn't grind that slowly. It should happen a lot quicker than that.
Isn't the...
What about all of their party and how they made the majority of their party and how they made Corbyn look like an anti-Semite when that was a lie? That was nearly every single one of them. Dawn Butler not included, of course. I think she was very much on the side of trying to calm it down a little bit. But a load of the Labour Party members were lying, and we're still not admitted to truth. So it's on all sides.
Flip side of that argument that it's the people, really, who should have got to decide, not MPs.
Oh, no, not really, because the minister's job
not
is to
really.
come to Parliament, be at the dispatch box and tell the truth. And if they don't tell the truth, if they tell a lie, even if it's a mistake, they're supposed to come back at the earliest opportunity.
But voters could have judged that for themselves in the next election.
Yeah.
And as it is, they can't.
Well, yeah, but Boris should have stayed. I mean, the irony is, if Boris had stayed, then he would have been thrown out of Parliament.
Unelected leader.
And taken his punishment and then seen what his constituents wanted, if they wanted him to stay or if they wanted him to go. But he threw a hissy fit and he's out. But you're absolutely right. At the moment, we need to change the system. Otherwise, nothing would change. Because there are still ministers, like the Home Secretary, telling lies on the floor.
We need to build giant pasties, pasties, and we're probably going to need some pastios or gal pasties. Now, these are collections of instruments of pastyism that will cause permanent pastization to lying politicians.
For the House, and nothing's been done about it.
Allegations she denies, obviously, but Dawn Butler, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Back to the facts. NEWSPASTE.
Shaping a great reset for the post-corona era.